I'm just waiting for Karen to get here. Just waiting for Karen. Where is Karen these days? Just waiting. Can't type. Just. Really? I really can't type? Waiting for people to show up. I'm live. So I did something hilarious today. Okay. I hope the lighting is okay. I hope the lighting is decent. I did something, I know, right? Like, is there anything different about me? I don't know. What do you think? Oh, this webcam really sucks. So let me just do this. What do you think? Like, they're really, my friend dared me to do them. The little long nail thing. So I didn't go to like one of those fancy nail places where they like rip apart your finger and put on this long ass nail and then shape it. No, I went to the drugstore and bought these fake little nails that you glue on and they stay on for a little bit. Hello, north of the border. You know what? Don't make me point at you with my long nail. So I decided, you know what? I want to see what the fuss is all about. Because, you used to see like Tequila and like a couple other witches on YouTube who would have these really long nails. And they'd be sitting there in the camera and all you'd see is these nails, right? Like it's like they perfectly position their hands. So all you ever saw was their nails. And it's like, girl, how do you do anything? Like, for example, barely pick up my phone and I can't really type. Long fingernails. These aren't even that long, right? Like most people will be like, those are pretty short, right? Like in comparison to what most witches on the internet get. And these are pretty short and I can't text. I can barely type on a keyboard and I hurt my finger. I don't know what I did, but I think it caught on something and like the nail underneath hurts and I'm just like, I'm sad now. Right? Like I'm waiting for more people to show up before I start my topics. Just got rid of my spa nails. Tired of typos. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go back to having fake nails ever again. Hello, Queen Elsa. Hello. Look at my nails. Aren't they beautiful? Don't you guys just like them? They're like those fake glue-on ones. So, they're sharp. I've poked my eye many times today. But I look so pretty and I like them. Yes, all hail me. I was hoping for more people to show up. So I went looking through my, what the hell did I go looking through? This is what happens when you do these things stoned. My vape is giving me a lot of spit back. I didn't ask for this. I did not ask for this at all. This is rude and inappropriate. And I will not let it stand. Anyways, doing basic tasks. Oh, I have vape juice all over my laptop. Oh, Jesus Christ. Doing basic tasks like typing or picking things up like, humans were not designed to have nails this long. Okay, humans were not designed to have fingernails like this. Okay, remember Honey Raven, Honey Raven, Honey, 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 Honey. Honey Raven. Right? Like, she has the long nails. And it's like, girl, how do you text? How do you do anything? Right? Like, so I just wanted to talk about my long nails and see what people thought of them. Aren't they beautiful? Right? Okay, so I was looking back in my previous videos long time ago to remember what kind of content I did before I decided to do whole series of what the hell is it? Oh, before I started doing the whole series of like just the content that I've been doing, like the series oriented content, right? So I was looking back at those types of videos, and they were just like these basic crappy witchy video tippy things, and I was like, oh, but they were giving me a lot of views, because you know what I've noticed? I've noticed that I have had a significant drop off in views. Like, my videos aren't doing what they used to be doing back when. So I'm like, am I doing this wrong? Like, I'm here to educate you on witchcraft. And it seems that you people don't want to be educated on witchcraft. Or it seems that I've stopped educating on witchcraft. Because I'm gonna look at my videos, okay? Because I'm gonna explain something to you all. Also, like, navigating a smartphone with long fingernails, not easy. Okay. Not easy at all. We're going into videos. I'm making a point. Just bear with me. So before I decided to do all of this series-oriented content, what kind of stuff was I putting out? Well, there's practical witchcraft. There's grimoire. So let's go before the grimoire. So, like, videos like Altar Tour, right? Like an Altar Tour, a crappy little Altar Tour. Well, they're not really crappy. And I'm not saying that your Altar Tours that you do. Yeah, I don't understand me with the long nails either. Just go with it. But a crappy little Altar Tour, right, would give me 324 views. Wow, right? Whereas what I'm doing now barely gives me 120. And in some cases, under 100. So, like, I have a question for my subscribers who are sticking with me through the stone patches. Do we not like my content anymore? Did I do something wrong? Did I offend you? Like, literally comment below and in this live chat. Like, if you're watching this later, I want you to comment. Like, did I offend you to have my channel slowly start dying? Like, what happened? Do we not like my content? Do we not like the direction I went in? Like, did I do something wrong? Like, I'm actually curious, because the series-oriented content, it starts out good, but it don't end well. It's like the views go up at the beginning of the series and straight down at the end of the series, and I'm like, oh, okay. Videos like Yule Incense gave me 338 views, which is like amazing, but at the same time, right? Like, my what is it? My series oriented content, like the craft that just came out, right? Like my highest viewing video in there is like at like 174 views. So like, am I doing this wrong? Did I set this year up wrong? Is 2020 going to be the year where we slowly watch my channel die before I finally let it sink in? Like, do we not like series-oriented content anymore? I don't know. I kind of went the Netflix route because I was like, this looks fun. And Shane Dawson kind of made it look cool. And I was like, I want to jump on a bandwagon, which leads me into trends into witchcraft. There is a lot of trends in witchcraft. We'll go back to me bitching about my channel in a minute, but just follow me here, okay? Follow me. Follow the queen. Follow the queen. Just don't ask questions. Follow the queen. We've talked about a lot of the common trends in witchcraft where a lot of people tend to use, I really love these nails. I hate doing anything with them, but I love them. I'm sorry, I'm going way off topic here. There's a ton of common trends that people have talked about over the years, right? So like you've got your pentagram, you know, like I don't really know how that's a trend. I guess that's more pop culture. But okay, so more recent, better example so that Lunar Wisdom isn't sitting there being like, why am I wasting my life here listening to you? Hecate. Everybody was getting on the bandwagon of Hecate, right? So that was a trend. A lot of YouTube channels were talking about Hecate and working with Hecate, and the Morrigan kind of slipped in there, but then quickly just vanished because if you know anything about the Morrigan, she's like, you take that shit down. So, but Hecate is a good example of a trend in the witchy community, but also just in general, in the broader scope, like the internet witchy community. Hecate was a common trend that everybody talked about. And there were troll groups and so on and so forth. But other types of trends in witchcraft is starting to surface, as we've noticed a lot in media. Hi, Sabrina. We don't, Jesus Christ, every book says this, worship the devil. Like, I'm really not understanding, so I'm kind of annoyed with the latest season of Sabrina. And it's not really a trend in witchcraft, it's just more of, well, it's something I have kind of seen, along with a couple of other trends, is that a lot of people in Facebook groups will ask, hey, you know, I'm new to the craft. Do you guys worship the devil or work with demons or, you know, any of that stuff? And you get a lot of the people that are like, yeah, we totally work with demons. Like some people actually do work with demons and some people are just trolling, right? Like I love these nails. I hate doing anything with these nails. So where pagans and pagan worship was deemed evil in the latest season. Sorry if I spoiled that for you, but I'm live and I can't edit my videos, so just calm down. And so some people were thinking, you know, well, paganism must be evil, or, you know, some people were thinking that, you know, oh, witches worship the devil and so on and so forth. And the common trend seems to be more in the media where witchcraft is in some way painted evil. Not always. You get shows like Charmed and Buffy and Supernatural where magic is both good and evil and so on and so forth. But this bastardization of what they did with Wicca and this whole, I don't know, it really kind of makes witchcraft in the media, in TV shows, just come across as this gothic, outcast type of thing. And then they make it dark. Well, it's Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and I guess the comic books were dark, so, you know, whatever. But, like, they just take the things that we know as witchcraft and just really, I don't know, they make it Hollywood. And it bugs me a little bit, but not overly. But you get people in Facebook groups, and maybe it's a Facebook group trend this time, but where they tend to ask a lot of questions around how do I get started working with spirits? Or I'm new to working with spirits. I've heard that they're dangerous. What do I do? Like, there's this trend of a lot of new witches wanting, and again, I haven't seen this on YouTube because I don't know what happened to the witchy community on YouTube. Where did you go? Okay, like what? Were you literally just tequila? Like, was she it? Was she it? Was she the whole witchy community? Like, that's it? That's all? Because it feels like ever since she left, there's no witchy community. Like, where the hell did you people go? Back to your shadows? Like, I feel like I'm standing in the middle of a field in the middle of the night and no one is around, and I'm like, I'm the witchy community. Right? So, the other thing that I've been seeing, as I was talking about on Facebook groups, because, again, there is no witchcraft community on YouTube. Like, I don't know. You look up witchcraft on YouTube, and you get channels like Harmony Nice and the White Witch Parlor. And I'm like, they're not really a part of the witchcraft community. I mean, yes, they are, because they post witchcraft-related videos of some extent. And they're, you know, like, but they're more fluffy and new age. And then there's people like me who are like, hi, how are you? I'm a real witch. Like, not saying that the White Witch Parlor is not a real witch, just being like, you know, realist here. I don't know how to do anything with these nails. So, a lot of new witches want to work with spirits is the new trend that I'm seeing in Facebook groups. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that, especially with well, it depends on how new you are. I mean, I don't care who you work with or what you work with or what kind of magic you practice. Like, let's just put that on the table right here, right now. Okay, little sisters? We're just gonna put that on the table. Right? But a lot of people also tend to ask, is it dangerous? Or I've heard it's dangerous. How do I protect myself? When I first started working with the dead, because it's the type of spirits that I like to work with. I like to work with dead things. But when I first started working with spirits of the dead, it was a little scary because you have this connected to the earth in a deep kind of way. Like, that's how I would describe it. I don't know how you would describe it, okay? Maybe you're being pulled apart in 1,000 different directions. I've heard it described as that way. But for me, contacting and working with the dead feels like you are just in this deep, not trance, but you know when you have a really deep sleep and you wake up and you just feel like you're still asleep and you're just kind of a zombie? Like, that's how you feel. Like, you just feel, but there's also this pressure all around you and on you, and it's just pulling you into the earth, and it feels kind of amazing. It's like a pressure blanket, really, but kind of amped up at the same time. So it's cool. And where it can get dangerous is when you don't know how to react to certain types of spirits, because it's not a TV show. Working with spirits is not like what you see on Supernatural, where they're angry, evil spirits that you must vanquish, or spirits that you make deals with, or whatever. Like, technically everything we work with is a spirit. I mean, the Morrigan is technically a spirit. The ancestors are spirits, all of this other fun stuff, right? So, like, everything we technically work with is a spirit. And when we work with these types of spirits, we tend to potentially encounter spirits that don't want to play nice, right? You know, the ones you hear about in Facebook groups. Oh my god, I played with a Ouija board and now my house is infested. Like, help me. Right? Like those people. What do you consider real witchcraft? Just to know where you are coming from. So, like, a lot of witchcraft is real. In fact, all of it is real. But you get this misconception of Hollywood fan fiction mixed in with it sometimes. Okay, especially in the younger Wiccan groups, like on Tumblr and like Facebook groups and stuff like that, where they're younger and they're mostly predominantly female and they are into witchcraft and they're into Wicca and they share around these like Pinterest things of charm spells and so on and so forth, right? Like, that's not really real witchcraft. And I also don't find a lot of New Age crystal mumbo jumbo New Age Wicca to be real witchcraft. That's a controversial statement. I haven't made one of those in a long time. New Age mumbo jumbo and New Age Wicca is not real witchcraft. How does that sound? Let me tell you why before you get mad. So my reasoning for this is that this notion of how New Age sells itself as mystical and magical and healing and vibrations, and it just I have encountered some New Age practitioners who call themselves witches or daughters of the goddess or whatever, right? Or sons of the land or some crap like that. And I'm just like, what is this cult and how do I be a part of it? Right? Like, it's some really twisted, broken, and these people, they call themselves witches, and you're like, well, what do you do? Like, what kind of witchy things do you do? And they say, you know, I manifest peace in the world. And it's like, okay, I mean, I get you. You're manifesting peace in the world. How do you do that? Like, do you do ritual? Do you do spell? Like, oh, we don't do spells or rituals. That's the devil's work. What? Right? Like, what? So they don't do spells or rituals because that's the devil's work, yet they consider themselves witches. I'm sorry, what are you? Witches of God? Because God don't like witches. But it's something that is not real witchcraft. I hope that answers your question. I totally fail at answering everything today. The most simplest form of witchcraft is knowledge and intentions, as Tess puts it in the comment section. And that's true. You need to have the knowledge of what you're trying to manifest, as well as the knowledge of how to do what you're trying to do. And you need to have the intention. Now, people who just say, oh, I think positive thoughts and I manifest what I want, and they call themselves witches, I mean, I don't want to say you're not a witch. But I feel like you're not a witch. Right? Like, this goes back to Cindy Lou Who. She was not a witch. Not at all. Mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. She was faker than the day is long. But that's the other thing is concept of fake witches. Now, it was mostly a troll thing where people would throw it out there and be like, oh, this person, I don't like this person's a fake witch, right? Like, hi, I've done it. And so, but it actually became an actual thing, right? Like people were looking at, people were too busy engrossed in the drama and looking at this other person while actual fake witch was getting through. And what is a fake witch? A scam artist in the community. Now, I haven't really heard many reports of scam artists in the witchy community. I've heard accusations, but like these people are reputable and they have like a high subscriber base, right? Like, and it never, when drama hits the witchy community, it doesn't just, you know, trickle down one or two people. It explodes in the witchy community. Trust me, honey, I've been in the center of it. So the interesting thing is that there were a few fake witches in the community, and these are people who they come onto witchcraft or not onto witchcraft. They come onto YouTube and they start talking about witchcraft, and you see their surroundings a little bit, and it looks ordinary, like a home or whatever. And they're talking about their favorite witchy YouTubers, and they're introducing themselves, and that's fine. But then, like a week later, their surroundings that you've seen them usually film in has changed, and it's like they went to the witchy Walmart store and bought one of everything. And now they work with Bast or they work with, I don't know, Hecate or the Morgon or something. And it sounds a little weird, but then you're like, okay, well, you know, they said they're new, but we don't know exactly how new they were. And then all of a sudden, someone on YouTube that they love and they talk about forever and ever and ever and ever, it's like doing a giveaway. And they're like, oh, I want that giveaway. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And then they win it or something. And then there's social climbing that's going on. And it's like, oh my God. Cindy Lou Who was this monster. And they disappear off of YouTube because they can't grow. They have no substance and no content. And that is what is a fake witch in the community, because they're trying to fit into a community that they don't belong to. And sometimes I have wondered if that is who I am. You know, sometimes I question if my craft is real or if it's made up in my head and just I'm crazy and psychotic and I need to turn to Jesus Christ. Right? But no, I have doubts about my own craft sometimes. And I think that's what actually makes us more genuine than a lot of what you can sometimes see on YouTube, is because, I don't know, we have doubts. You know, sometimes I wonder, like, I haven't done anything for like 2 or 3 weeks to be a witch when you haven't done it in a long time. And it's like, okay, how do I do this again? Do I have the supplies to do this? Didn't I just throw out a bunch of supplies? Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, when you don't do it for a while, things get dusty. And you're like, how do I do this again? I like totally forgot. I thought that said Cindy Lou Ho. Are you back again, quarantined? I'm always quarantined. Okay. I question my path regularly. I think that's an important aspect of our craft is to be able to take that step back and realize that the questions that we're asking about our path are valid and that they shouldn't invalidate us as witches. You know, just because you're asking, is this the right path for me, or am I a witch, or am I doing this right? And that is the other trend that I've seen going on in Facebook groups right now, is a lot of people are asking, am I doing this right? And I'll be honest with you, nobody knows except you. Because I think one of the issues when new people come to the craft is that they're looking for a cookie cutter mold that they can shape their craft around and then keep it that way. So you know how like when you make gingerbread cookies, right? You got that little stamp that, you stamp in the dough and it makes the little gingerbread man. Yeah, so like people are looking for those types of molds where they can say, I am this witch. And I don't think you can ever really say you are just this one type of witch. Maybe there are people out there who only practice one form of witchcraft and have never gone down any other paths and whatnot. And that's okay too. But I don't think that there are many of us who do that. I think a lot of us like to explore and incorporate different elements and draw inspiration from other types of practices and paths and whatnot and so on and so forth. And they like to explore their craft and they like to explore who they are as a human being. I think that's what a lot of people like to do. I don't know. I could be wrong. Right? Like, maybe, but I like to explore. So when people say, I wonder, like, am I doing this right? Like, or I did this candle spell, or I did this Wiccan pagan ritual thing, or it's do I have to celebrate the Sabbats, or like, do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? Like, what? Like, am I doing this right? And when you're new to the craft, it's really difficult to decipher what is right and what is wrong because you're reading these books. And my advice for you is not to get long nails, okay? Don't do it. Like, just don't do it. Look. I have old lady hands. Leave me alone. But just kind of take it as, like, take it in pieces, right? Like, do what feels right for you. Do what non-stop learning, yes. Do what feels right for you and just take it in pieces. If you don't want to celebrate the Sabbats, you don't have to. If you don't want to celebrate the full moon and the new moon and all the moons in between, you don't have to. If you don't want, to do the fancy elaborate stuff that the books say you should probably do, you don't have to, right? Like, it's your craft and you can do whatever it is that you want in it. Just don't cultural appropriate, right? So that is one of the trends that I have seen going around in Facebook groups. And what I have seen going around in hoodoo groups is a lot of people who are talking about hexing and sour jars. Now, I talked about sour jars last night. A lot of people are asking about sour jars, talking about sour jars. Sour jars are the new trend, right? Like, there will always be a bandwagon or something. Like, you see one or two posts about sour jars, and then a week later, the entire thread is full of, ooh, I did a sour jar on this person, ooh, I did a sour jar on that person, ooh, look at my sour jar. And it's like, honey, right? Like, get off the bandwagon, right? Like, we're not here to sit on a bandwagon and right? Like, so there's this trend of bandwagoning going on. And not just with the concept around sour jars, but this concept around cursing and hexing. Now, I've seen it a lot in Facebook groups before where people will talk about cursing and hexing and all of that other stuff. But one of the Facebook groups that I'm in actually blew up with it. Everybody and their mother's dog was cursing somebody and hexing somebody and burning somebody. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, this is Solitary Luna's favorite group. Oh, I needed my water, okay? Got dry mouth. Smoke some Mary Janes. So anyways, it's really fascinating to see this blow up, because what I've noticed is that it seems to be a popular person in the Facebook group will post something like a curse or a hex, and it's very aesthetically pleasing. So everybody jumps on it. Oh, how do I do this? Oh, how do I do that? Oh, I want to do a spell like that. And they all start flooding the message board with all of these posts and pictures of their new curse or hex that they've put on somebody just down the street or whatever, right? And it's people, it's sheep following the wolf, essentially. This what they're doing. Like, they're mindless sheep and they can't think for themselves. And it seems to be this trend that is going around where people are asking more than ever for spells. Oh, I need a spell to do this. Oh, I need a spell to do that. And witchcraft groups are really the joke of Facebook, right? Like, they're the joke of YouTube videos in the witchy community that talk about them. They're toxic environments that just harbor toxic people, and it bugs me. It does, because I really think that we could actually have conversations about the occult, about witchcraft, about all of that in a mature way where people's voices and opinions can be heard and viewed and expressed, and then possibly beaten down, and then they rise back up as the champion, and then they get beaten down again. You know what I'm talking about? And I think it would be I think that type of environment can exist because it did exist. It used to exist before social media, when there were just message boards and email boards that you could be a part of, like Yahoo groups or, witchy forum boards that you could talk on. People were actually having real conversations, and the community would come together and shame somebody for asking for a spell. Right? Nowadays, people are so inclined to just jump in and give that person a spell, give them what they want. And it's like, what are you teaching that person? You're not teaching them anything. You're not teaching them how to research. You're not teaching them how to do this. You're not teaching them how to do that. And when it came to message boards back in the day, it was really easy to form a community. Right? There's no community today. It's just a bunch of random people on Facebook who join a group talking about witchcraft and the occult, and they're not even talking about it. They're sharing memes and funny videos and, oh, my man over there like this, but I'm over here like that, and she's got a voodoo doll, and like, it's not witchcraft, and it's not something that I am proud of. And not one of those people in those Facebook groups that are posting memes and begging for spells and jumping on bandwagons are really even real witches. I mean, look at Let's Talk Magic on Facebook, right? Like, It is a group that is dedicated to talking about and discussing magic. And ain't nobody in there talking about or discussing anything, right? Like you try to create a discussion and it gets shut down. Like it just gets shut down. Oh, it's too controversial. Oh, no, 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 no. And a lot of people have bringing back this concept of the law of three, right? The threefold law, the little Wiccan law says you can't sneeze without consequences, right? And it's just what is this? What is this garbage? Why are these Facebook groups the most toxic, disgusting places on the internet to venture into to learn anything of substance on what witchcraft is? You know what these Facebook groups really are? They are a place that is a plague of trends and bandwagons and fake witches and wannabe witches and pretenders and people begging for money spells and people way oversharing their personal details of their life, tragic rape stories and abuse stories and violence and pedophilia and physical abuse and spousal abuse, and like they just pour it all out into these Facebook groups, begging for good vibes and spells. Like these people are on the internet, right? Like and they're talking about these extremely sensitive and in a lot of cases very triggering, very uh, just no, it's grossly inappropriate, right? And then you get the people in there that are begging for witchy supplies or, you know, or they're doing their tarot readings and they have no idea what they're doing. Or they're doing their like candle readings and they're begging for people to read their candles. And it's like, no. Right? Like, no. Don't do that. Like, if you don't know how to read your own candles, why are you burning them and then asking for people to read them? Right? Like, this is just more evidence of people not doing their fucking research. It takes all of 5 minutes to look up how to read a candle. But these people in Facebook groups can't seem to do that. There is this trend of just laziness. And it is horrible. It's horrible. And then you look up witchcraft on YouTube and it gets worse. Because a lot of what you get is those flashy, well-polished, well-put-together videos on witchcraft, or you get documentaries on witchcraft or whatever. You don't get the channels like mine and like others, right? So the type of information you end up getting is shallow and doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of the amount of questions you have. Right? Like maybe you find a YouTuber who has a similar path of yours and they are a witch who is new and they're trying to figure out like what is this, like how do I learn more about this. The channels like mine and a few others, you know, they don't get out there, right? Like I'm not saying that there's a lot of people out there who work with demons that are new to working with demons that are, you know, looking at my channel and being like, what content do you have to offer me? But there is this sense of shallowness in the top level of when you search witchcraft. It's this 13 reasons you might be a witch, or 13 things you can do here, or 13 tips for new witches, like shallow content, right? And then if you keep scrolling down, yeah, you start to see channels that are kind of similar to mine and other channels and so on and so forth. But then it becomes trying to find, maybe you like the person that you found and you want to find similar channels to them. Well, that's hard. It's hard to find channels that are similar to another witch's channel, unless they are subscribed to a bunch of witches and they're sharing that information. It's really hard to find somebody else, right? Pinterest witches. Pinterest witches are fake witches. They're not real witches. They're building their book of shadows out of a bunch of Pinterest images of charmed spells and charmed look-alike spells and so on and so forth. And then they're all like, oh, look at me, I'm a witch. Like, look at Derry Carpenter. Okay, she was not a witch. Look at Cindy Lou Who. Not a witch. Right? Not a witch. They're just internet scum. I think being a Pinterest witch is like, just, it's scummy. I'm not saying that there isn't such a thing as pop culture witchcraft, but there's a scummy element to it where it doesn't feel real, but they're selling it so well that it sounds real, but you know in the back of your mind that 90% of it isn't real. It's for aesthetics. That's a trend I haven't seen a lot on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram lately, is aesthetics. I mean, yeah, you get occasional witches that will post fancy looking spells or rituals or altars, but not as often as you used to, which is interesting. You know, you do get the occasional people that show up and have just bought everything. And they're like, look at my new witchy room. I just decked it out with a bunch of new things. A lot of people like to do haul videos. But a lot of the haul videos are I went down to my local Botanica and got a bunch of witchy supplies, which makes sense if that's what you've got around you and you need to go there. Need a spell? Look on Pinterest, right? Look on Pinterest. Now, I do have a question. Okay, so we've talked about trends and kind of newbie questions, right? So the typical trends in witchcraft is everybody's just jumping on the bandwagon. I have to look at the title of this video, okay? Calm down. The people are jumping on bandwagons. There's no substance in Facebook groups. I mean, I've talked about Facebook groups a million times before, right? Like, there's no substance. They're not really real. They're full of memes, jokes, and, you know, like, I have yet to find a Facebook occult group that isn't full of crazy people. So I don't know how I feel about these nails. I don't. They're easy to take off. I just have to soak my hands in that nail polish remover for like 15 minutes or so, and then they'll just like apparently pop off or start to loosen so I can just take them off. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I won't. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, little sisters? We'll see. So I've seen a couple of things on Pinterest that are actually pretty good. I think it depends on how long you've been practicing and what you're really looking for. Okay, you know what? You do you. But Pinterest is a joke. Okay, people say it with me. Pinterest is a joke. I haven't been following a lot of witchy things lately. I haven't been following any witchy videos, YouTubers, anything like that, because I keep asking you guys for witchy YouTubers, and you keep giving them to me, and I keep looking them up, and I'm like, I don't vibe with this person. Like, do you ever get that where you're like, you're desperate for new content, and you're looking around at similar content, and you're like, I don't vibe with this person. Like, you watch a few of their videos, and you're like, I don't vibe with this person. Okay? And I don't know. I think it may be sometimes it's their like, this is really shallow to say, but sometimes it's like their video quality is just really bad. And you're just like, oh, you could have tried a little harder. But it just turns it off. It just turns you off of watching that person's video. And I'm just like, and I understand, like, we're not rich. We like, I'm doing this on my laptop right now, and it's a piece of crap laptop, and the video quality on these live chats is never very good. But I don't know, when you're sitting down and you're recording a video, like, smidge more effort would have been nice. And sometimes a lot of these witches that I end up like looking up or whatever, like, I'm listening to them talk about a topic, and I'm like, you have no idea what you're even saying. Like, one lady was trying to describe Wicca, and she described it as like this really light, peace, love, hipster, wannabe witchcraft thing. And I was like, while I agree that a lot of Wiccans are hippy dippies, it's not that it's not real, it's just that today's version of Wicca has been taken to a place where it can't come back from. And there's a lot of people who practice the old school version of Wicca, and, you know, they're real witches. They know what they're doing, right? Well, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. You can't be a witch. No. You can't be a Wiccan who's not a witch. I don't know. I had some controversial thing that I used to say where it was like, you can't be a Wiccan if you're not a witch, or no, you can be a Wiccan and not practice witchcraft or something. I don't remember. What would be your ideal content if you wanted to watch somebody on YouTube? They've got to be entertaining, right? Like, they've got to deliver the message that they're trying to deliver in a fashion that's entertaining, right? Like, the reason I have you people that watch me is because to some degree I'm entertaining. Like, look, I got nails. I got new nails for you guys, right? Like, and half the time I do these things, I'm stoned out of my tree. So, you know, I'm entertaining. I like entertaining people. You know, I liked Tequila because she was entertaining. I like Ember Honeyraven because she's entertaining. I like, you know, when Solitary uploads, you know, she's entertaining. People are entertaining. But some of the people that I've been watching are just, they're not entertaining. I want to be entertained. You know, sometimes I'll get really baked, and I'll just be scrolling through YouTube, and I'll find something, and I'll watch it, and I'm really enthralled by it, that I'll end up going to the channel, and like, if it's in a playlist, I'll look for similar videos and like watch them and like binge their entire channel. Like, there's this guy, Prim Inc., who I looked up recently, and he does these commentaries on YouTube channels, and they're like usually about like 18-20 minute long videos where he does a deep dive in, right? And it's really entertaining. It's fascinating. I love the way he delivers the content. I love the way he brings it to life. And a lot of the witches on YouTube, they deliver the content, but they're just like, I don't really care. Like, it just kind of feels like they don't care. I'm not saying that's all the witches on YouTube. I'm just saying that's some of the witches on YouTube. And I don't want them to stop making content. I just want them to care about their content. And, like, you know, like, they get on YouTube and they're like, hi, how are you? So today we're going to talk about Wicca 101 and 14 tips to starting Wicca. Okay, tip number 1. Like, they don't care. Like, if I was doing it, I'd be like, oh my God, or like, totally talking about Wicca. Okay, listen. Here's my first tip. Like, that's way more entertaining to watch than some guy who's like, and most of the time their cameras are like this, and they're like, hi, how are you? And it's like, what are you doing? Just a floating head now, right? I don't know. So if you want to know what kind of YouTube channels I like entertaining ones. I liked watching Joey Morris. I liked watching Lunar Wisdom, and I like witches like that, right? The good witches. The good witches of America. Or maybe they're the bad witches, I don't know. Now we have to talk about well, we covered the newbie questions. Like, am I doing this right? Of course you're doing it right. Like, does it feel right? If it don't feel good, girl, back that finger up slowly. But the other thing is, I want to talk about when magic can't help you. Okay. When it just can't. It's not allowed for one reason or another. You're going to encounter times in your life when magic isn't going to help you. And it's not so much of what type of magic or what type of situation, it's more of what do you do? Because I will tell you right now, there are a lot of witches out there who are so obsessed at being at the altar every day and doing a spell for every situation. And they wouldn't know what to do come a day when magic can't help them. Pick any example you can think of off the top of your head. You know, maybe she's walking with little Timmy to get ice cream, and little Timmy is gunned down by a mafia man, right? Like, magic can't help you there. Come on, think about it. I can wait. I can wait. I can wait. I can wait. By the way, my last video only got 68 views. I hate all of you. So what do you do in those situations when magic can't help you? Because you have just been depending on it. Everything. Right? Like, I've talked in the past about this microwave society of people wanting things right now. But these are people who depend on magic just to take a crap. And there's going to be instances in their life where magic just isn't going to help them in the slightest. And you have to figure out how to navigate these instances and these situations. So how do you do that effectively as what I like to call a magic-addicted human being? Or a M-A-H-B, a mahab. A mahab. Magic addicted human being. Well, you have to be able to problem solve. And if you're depending on magic every day to solve every small situation, from a bill to a husband to children to groceries to this to that to whatever, then to be honest with you, you're not going to be able to problem solve your way out of this. Because think about it. When we're witches, we generally are problem solving. We're doing some type of spell, or we're doing some type of ritual, or we're doing some type of action where what we're trying to do is solve the problem in front of us. But if you can't rely on magic, you have to rely on your mundane problem solving abilities. And if you've become reliant on something, then it's a lot more difficult to see past reasoning and just jump right into spell work. And my suggestion to those people is, well, you're fucked. Right? Like, you know how I've talked about how you don't need to be at the altar every day? It's okay not to be at the altar every day. Like, you don't have to cast spells every single day. But what is interesting is that the people who are addicted to magic, because you can become addicted to magic. You can become addicted to anything. I'm addicted to nicotine. You're addicted to watching me. I'm addicted to marijuana. You're addicted to watching me. And now I'm addicted to heroin. I don't know how that one happened, but it escalated fast. The point is that being addicted to magic is a time when magic can't help you. Because you can't see beyond the altar. You can't see beyond the next spell. You can't see beyond anything. All you see in front of you is, oh, I can cast this spell, I can use these ingredients, I can do this candle spell, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that. And yes, a lot of witches will generally turn to the craft, and when a problem arises that is a little trickier to solve using mundane abilities. But if you're always doing that, right, then you're not going to be able to face those problems head on in a situation where you don't have magic. Right? Little Timmy's murder can't be solved with witchcraft. And there are powerful witches out there that could deal with little Timmy's murderers in a permanent way. But it really also comes down to, if you're ever asking yourself, do I need to be doing this? Like, do I need to be casting spells for whatever the reason is that I'm casting them for? Like, a lot of spells in Facebook groups are all about their men and their husbands and their cheating whatevers. And it's like, do you need magic for your broken, failed, pathetic, miserable, wannabe existence of a failed relationship? Like, is this really what you need to be spending your time on? Your pathetic attempts at not being single so that you're not lonely, so that you don't have to look at yourself in the mirror and realize that you're a horrible person who probably drove him away in the first place? Right? Wouldn't you do the mundane stuff regardless? Magic can't always be there to solve everything. You would think that most people, if not the majority of people, would do the mundane. And I know that my subscribers do the mundane. I know you do. I know. I appreciate it. But there are a lot of people out there that don't do the mundane. And you see this a lot in Facebook groups. They run to the altar. And then they post to the Facebook group, oh, thank you, Saint Expedite. You got me my rent money. Oh, incoming long story. And their long story boils down to, they got off the phone with their landlord who says that their rent check bounced. And instead of doing anything about it, they ran to their altar begging Saint Expedite for money. There's no mundane in that. And then a couple hours later, her mama called her. What I really think happened there is that she wants to be a part of a Facebook group and is actually a fake witch. So what she did was call her mama, beg and cry. And then, because she really wants to feel accepted in this Facebook group, she took a picture of Saint Expedite, put it next to a candle, lit the candle, put a couple herbs around it, and was like, oh, look, this is pretty. I'm going to share it on Facebook and tell everybody that I'm a real witch, when in reality, all I did was bitch and complain to my mother, who gave me money because she bails me out of all of my problems, because even though I'm 32 years old with 4 children and I don't have a husband yet, I haven't figured out how to live my own life properly yet. I'm just a screw up. Right? So I can be pretty harsh. I can be pretty harsh on these people who post in Facebook groups, because it's what it really boils down to. It's fakery, fuckery, and misery. And these people, if any of them are real witches and actually practice the craft, the amount that they post and the way that they describe their situations in their stories in most of their posts comes across such that what they're doing, what they're saying, shows that they're addicted in one way or another to the craft. And you might be thinking, well, can you actually be addicted to the craft? Like, what? And the answer to that is yes. Little Sally Birkenstein, who's 5 years old and had her arms cut off yesterday. Armless Sally Birkenstein, everybody. She can't wipe her own ass anymore. And a lot of you are like, who is Sally Birkenstein? Nobody. This time, I promise, it's nobody. Wink, wink. I don't know any armless people in the witchy community. If you know an armless person in the witchy community, post it. Maybe they can be Sally Birkenstein. But they have to be missing both arms. Okay, that's the rule. So, what was I talking about? Oh, addiction to witchcraft. So you can become addicted to the craft. You become dependent on the spirits or the ancestors or whatever deity you work with for everything. And I think that's a part of the problem of what I was going through. Was that my craft was very experimental when I started. And when I started uploading to YouTube, it was still very experimental. And then lots of job and life-related things happened, and it wasn't so much experimental anymore. And then things settled. Things worked out the way I wanted them to. In what feels to me like a very permanent situation. A very long-term permanent situation. And I like that. I do. I'm scratching my eyeball. I really do. But that leaves my craft up in the air. And I think because I depended on it in a way to get money and to make sure that money was still flowing, it left me with a lot of questions of what now, and like questioning my craft and questioning my validity and my reality and my purpose and belonging and all of that fun stuff. Like it really challenged that. It really brought a lot of that stuff to the surface, right? So like some dark gooey bits. And it made me realize that maybe in some fashion I was addicted to the craft. I was trying to find a magical solution to my problems. And a lot of the times, if not all of the times, I was doing the mundane, because you practice what you preach, right? If you don't practice what you preach, then you're just you're a snake oil salesman, right? Like you're nothing. You're a hypocrite. You're disgusting. You're shameful. And they're marching you through the street naked, screaming shame, shame, shame. And there's dragons flying overhead. Your vagina's exposed, and just people are throwing Cabbage Patch dolls at it, and they're just one got its head stuck in there, and you're just like, do I take it out? Like, it looks like I have a penis with 2 legs. Like, what do I do here? Right? So, and it makes me realize that to an extent I was kind of addicted to it, because any financial situation that I came across in my personal life, it was like, oh, witchcraft will help me with this. Light this candle, use these herbs, use these intentions, call on this, call on that, so on and so forth. And I think what it was doing was it was gearing me up in a way where I could use my energies and my focuses and everything that my focuses is, like there's plural of focus. I could use everything that I've learned up to that point and finally reach the end result. And that made me question for a long time, well, is that it? Am I done? Am I done being a witch? Got the stable job. Got the stable income. Finally starting to learn from my stupid people mistakes. Like, is that it? Am I all done? And I haven't come to an answer to that question, because I don't know. I don't think you can be done. You're not done when you're a witch. You don't start and finish. You finish when you die. So I don't think I am done. I think I'm just trying to figure out what's next. What do I do now? And some of the things that I want to do now is I want to go back to experimenting with the craft and doing things again, and doing not just like doing rituals and doing miniature spells and just kind of playing around with the energy and playing around with the flow of things and all of that. And I think that's one of the problems is I haven't figured out, like, where is my craft going? Like, what am I doing with my craft? It's just a really big question of, like, what am I doing? And I don't quite know how to answer it. But I think experimenting with my craft and experimenting in new areas and stuff like that is definitely the right way to go. But anyways, my tubies, I must be on my way. I must be on my way. I hope I said enough controversial things tonight. Cindy Lou, who is a fake witch. Fake witch. I love you all. Bye.